Your bank made hundreds of dollars off your savings last year. You got 76 bucks. And here's what makes it worse. You probably thanked them for it. And once you see this, you're never going to look at a savings account the same way again. I'm Ben, and I'm going to show you exactly how that math works, and the one move most people never find out about because their bank is counting on them not asking. Today, we fix that. Meet Tyler, 31, project manager in Denver, $20,000 in a savings account at a big national bank. He checks his balance every month, sees a small interest deposit, feels responsible, feels like he's got it handled. His account pays 0.38% APY. That's the national average right now, straight from FDIC data. On $20,000, that's $76 a year, $6 a month. Not even enough to cover lunch. Now here's the part his bank never mentioned. The moment Tyler deposited that money, the bank put it to work. Not for Tyler, for themselves. They took his 20 grand and lent it out. Credit cards at over 20%, auto loans, mortgages, personal loans, all at rates that are multiples of what they pay him. The net interest margin, the gap between what they pay and what they earn, currently averages 3.39% across US banks, the highest since 2019. On Tyler's $20,000, that's roughly $700 going to the bank. Tyler got 76. And then there's the one that should really bother you. His bank takes Tyler's deposit and buys US Treasury bills yielding 3.6%, pays Tyler 0.38% to do it, and keeps the difference. The bank is the middleman between Tyler and the US government. Tyler had no idea. He thought he was earning interest. He was funding his bank's income statement. And that's the part that gets people. Because Tyler did everything right and still ended up on the wrong side of the math. Now, some of you already know this. You moved to a high-yield savings account. You're earning 4.5%. You think you solved it. You didn't. And in about 60 seconds, I'll show you exactly why. Tyler's girlfriend, Mia, is 28, and she's been on his case for months to do something smarter with their savings. 6 months ago, she did her own research and moved her 20 grand to a high-yield savings account paying 4.5%. She even showed Tyler the math. She's pulling in $900 a year to his 76, 10 times ahead. She was right, and she knows it. But here are 3 things Mia doesn't know yet. Problem 1. That 4.5% can disappear overnight. It's a promotional rate. The bank can drop it to 3.2% next month and send Mia a 2-sentence email. No floor, no commitment, no protection. Problem 2. Every dollar is taxed as ordinary income. Federal plus state. If Mia's in the 22% federal bracket, living somewhere with a 5% state income tax, she's handing back more than a quarter of that $900. Her real take home is around $657. Problem 3, the one that actually matters. Mia's high-yield bank is running the exact same playbook as Tyler's bank, lending out her deposit at 7%, 12%, 21%, buying treasuries, keeping the spread. Mia just gets a slightly bigger slice. The bank is still in the middle, still taking a cut. And here's the question Mia never thought to ask. If my bank is buying treasury bills with my money and keeping the spread, why don't I just buy them myself? That question is worth about $600 a year, more in some states. And we're about to run the exact numbers. Every dollar you stop giving your bank for free starts doing the work instead of you. Now I'm going to run the numbers cold. Same 20 grand, 3 scenarios. And then I'm going to kill the 2 objections most people have, because honestly, the answers are better than you'd expect. Don't go anywhere. Same $20,000, same 12 months, 3 different places to park it. Tyler, traditional savings at 0.38%, $76 gross. After federal and state taxes, he keeps roughly $55 per year. Mia, high yield savings at 4.5%, $900 gross. After taxes, and I'm using 22% federal plus 5% state here, so adjust for your own state. She keeps about 657. Option 3, a short-term Treasury ETF. The ticker is SGOV. SGOV. And you can look it up in any brokerage app the same way you'd search a stock. It tracks 3-month US Treasury bills directly. Its 12-month trailing yield sits around 3.95%. On $20,000, that's roughly $790 gross. Now here's where it flips. Interest from US Treasury securities is exempt from state and local income taxes, federal law. Mia pays state tax on every dollar her high-yield account earns. The SGOV investor does not. After federal tax only, the SGOV investor keeps around $616. And this is where most people miss the point. This isn't about squeezing out $40 extra. It's about understanding the system your bank is running. And if you're in California, New York, or any high-tax state, that exemption can tip SGOV ahead outright. But here's the deeper difference. Mia's 4.5% can be cut tomorrow. No warning, no recourse. SGOV tracks actual Treasury auction rates. Transparent, market-driven, no bait and switch. And SGOV cuts the bank out entirely. You're lending directly to the US government and keeping the full yield minus a 0.09% annual fee. $18 on 20 grand. That's it. Mia has better marketing. SGOV has better math. They didn't hide this from you. They just never needed to tell you. This isn't about SGOV always beating a high-yield savings account. It doesn't. The point is that once you understand treasuries, you finally see what your bank is actually competing with. Objection 1. FDIC insurance. FDIC insures your money up to $250,000 per bank if the bank fails. Real protection, no argument. But here's the mental model. FDIC is a promise from the US government that your bank will pay you back. A treasury bill is the US government paying you back directly. No bank in the middle. You're going straight to the source. If anything, it's more direct. Objection 2. Liquidity. When you sell SGOV, it settles in 1 to 2 business days. Real talk. When's the last time you needed $20,000 in cash within the hour? In a real emergency, 2 business days is almost always enough time. And the difference in yield while you're waiting for that emergency to happen is hundreds of dollars a year. Keep a few weeks of expenses in checking. Everything else, emergency fund, down payment savings, idle cash, that money shouldn't be in a savings account. All right, here are the 3 moves. And the third option in this list is one most people skip completely. 0 fees, no middleman at all. I'll show you what it is in a second. Move 1, keep your checking account. You still need it for rent, bills, daily spending. This is only about where your idle cash parks. Move 2, find your idle cash. Emergency fund, down payment savings, anything sitting in a savings account not getting spent in the next 30 days. That's the money your bank is running through their profit machine. Move 3, pick your vehicle. You don't need all 3 options. You need the one that fits how you use your money. SGOV. Search the ticker SGOV in any brokerage app. Trades like a stock, monthly dividend, current yield 3.55 to 3.95%, expense ratio 0.09%, state and local tax exempt. At Fidelity or Schwab, set dividends to reinvest automatically. TreasuryDirect.gov. 0 fees, direct from the US government at auction. No brokerage, no ETF. Less liquid, maturity between 4 weeks and 12 months. 4-week bills are the most flexible. They roll over automatically. Treasury-only money market fund at Fidelity, Schwab, or Vanguard. Same state tax exemption as SGOV, instant liquidity, no maturity commitment. At Fidelity, it's SPAXX. At Vanguard, it's VMFXX. Both Treasury only. Tyler was responsible. Mia was informed. She did better. Neither one ever asked, what is my bank actually doing with my money? And can I do that myself? And once you see it this way, the question isn't, where should I save? It's, why am I letting someone else use my money for free? Now you know what your bank was counting on you never asking.